Hey, how's everybody? Welcome. As the shadows are getting long in the Valley of the Sun, and we're ready for the second session of qualifying for the Arizona Nationals. I'm Paul Page with Mike Dunn, Gary Gerald, Dave Reef, and we're all kind of looking forward to this second session. Look at this. You want to Twitter the gang? Well, there they are. We'll keep that up just a second for you. You want to send your questions? Send them there. We'll get them on the air as best we can for you. It's really a lot of fun. Don't hesitate to do that. Well, Pro Stock Motorcycles, you saw a second ago as they were back in the staging lanes, and now they're getting ready to come up to the line. And so we'll show you the standings at this moment before the start of the second session. They've already had one session, and remember, only the top 12 carry over to Saturday. Junior, once again, boy, he is looking so strong. Sits number one.
Couple of countdown. Hello. Couple of countdown contenders there. Jimmy Underdahl, Ellie Tonglet is in that 12th and final transfer position at a 7:16.
And currently not qualified, meaning below 12th. Long list. There are a lot of Pro Stock motorcycles here. This is pretty cool.
Jerry Savoie down there in the 20th spot as he had problems in that first session, so he's going to be looking to try to turn it around in this one.
Hey, Paul and Mike, Gary and I are confused. Once again, we're in the booth having fun tonight. It's hot outside and it's air conditioned in here. Now, when it was cold in Reading last week, it was heated in here. You guys got the best of everything in here, don't you?
Well, the chafing dishes went cold early because we ran out of sterno.
I heard you just fired, you just got rid of that food just because we were coming.
You've got chafing?
One of my favorite guys on the line, Riddell Harris. He's a hoot to talk to. He's constantly at it. He doesn't do all that well when you think about it. And yet, here he is on the line trying to make in this field. His 93rd career DNQ at Indy this year. Let's see if he can get in this one. Nope. Nope. You're right.
724 to 186 miles per hour. As we mentioned, that 12th and final transfer position, he would have run quicker than a 7:16.
Guys, we probably should point out that this is the first time for all of these riders to be on this racetrack. Normally, this event is in February, early in the season. The bikes open their season in the Gator Nationals in Gainesville, so they've never been down this racetrack. And they don't have any data or anything that they can go and rely on. They've had one session up until now, so it's kind of a wide open adventure for all these folks.
And we have a new slow motion camera. We call it the Antelope, and there's the results of it. I mean, it's amazing when you really slow these things down. You can see all the mechanical happenings.
The Antelope, just like that thing that took out that mountain biker. Scary.
Oh, you had to show me that, didn't you? Well, Bailey Whitaker, you saw him a moment ago, and Katie Sullivan. Bailey is on the Buell, Katie on a Suzuki, and now we get some movement. That's going to move.
Hang on, Katie.
Wow.
Almost got away from her there.
Wow, maybe lock that brake up in the front, huh?
Yeah, but she was fighting that thing all the way down the track on the run too.
Let's look at that one again, left side of your screen.
Just situation got a little bit too hard on that front brake, and boy, look at just lay over. And when she let off the brake, the bike uprighted, and everything was okay at that point. But a little scary there for a second.
Take you back up to the starting line. Jerry Savoie and Wesley Wells. Look at this, 117 degrees.
And
whatever we had,
and that's cooling
that's
down.
the cool temperature. Yeah, whatever we had at Reading is not here. There's no wet, there's no cold. And it is hot, and it's going to be hot over 100 degrees throughout the whole weekend, right, Gary?
I was going to say the track conditions in the first session were in the 130-plus range, so it has cooled down considerably and will continue to cool, obviously, as the sun fades here.
So we're talking, when we talk heat, kind of an equalizer. The big teams can't perform quite as well as we've seen in the past.
Jerry Savoie with a good 60-foot. Wesley Wells has to get out of it. Nice pass.
704, 190 miles an hour.
Mark Pydra says, yeah, we'll take that after not getting down the track in the first session.
Has him at 6th. And this is from down at the far end. Take a look at this.
Wesley Wells was 107 and 60, or 113 and 60 foot because he spun the tires and then moved over towards the center. Jerry Savoie was 107, and Wesley, once he got off that concrete on that asphalt center point, he knew he had to just get out of the throttle and avoid crossing the center line. But Jerry Savoie makes a nice pass. His crew chief Mark Pizer said, yeah, we'll take that.
That was Tucson, Cam, right? From down in Tucson?
Yeah, way down there.
You know, Gary was talking about the fact this is a one-off event for the bikes. Having never ran here, I just actually went and looked at next year's schedule on NHRA.com. Bikes are not coming back here with us when we come back to this event next February. So it truly could be a one-time deal. And it being the 4th race of 6 in the countdown to the championship, wow, that adds a little drama, I guess, to the two wheels.
Well, let's talk for a minute about the potential weather here, because it is supposed to be hot, over 100 degrees the next 2 days. I call it the equalizer, because now you don't need the power. You got to figure out how to tune it the best. Who does that favor and why?
Well, especially in the fuel categories, because they can't utilize all that 8,000 horsepower. And obviously guys that have a better handle. I mean, all the teams are going back and look at their Dallas notes for a comparison to the racetrack, because that's the conditions that we saw. As you see Matt Gadara go down the racetrack, nice pass, 713 to 186 miles per hour. But for the motorcycles, the same thing. It's getting that wheel speed at the beginning, not spinning it too hard, and getting a good launch.
So with that run, Matt Gadara comes from down out of the field up into 12th position. Again, top 12 carried through. Some schedule changes that we will see next year, moving from 22 to 23 events. So we're adding something new. St. Louis is back, and it'll be held during the countdown. Pretty cool.
We're adding something old to be something new, because we used to run in St. Louis, and now we're going to return there, which is great.
That could be wicked fast then too.
That time of year, absolutely.
Well, and doesn't that push Reading back another week?
Another week, yep.
Ay, ay, ay.
That was a first.
Yeah, well, that's Sovereign. He's saying, I can't get it to start. You saw him. That's a first. That means Fred Camarena is going to be taking it as a solo on the line.
The one thing, you know, they've redone the racetrack here, done quite a bit of work to the surface itself. And for the fuel cars, before they did the work, I can remember that both lanes always wanted to drive the cars over towards the left side of the racetrack. The right side would be driving towards the center, and you always wanted to kind of stay on the right side of the groove there. Now, for Brookside Motorcycles, I don't know how that's going to play out for them here. We already saw a couple drift off towards the center. And
there you are, right
Fred
there.
actually did a little bit there himself. You know, and these are something that the teams are going to have to pay attention to. Especially the motorcycles not ever being here, kind of knowing where to line up and how to line up for their runs.
723, that's going to move him up one, but not near the top 12. Over $200,000 spent on this track last time we were here. Steve Johnson comes up along with L.E. Tonglet. I talked with Chuck Sundstrom, who is the facilities manager here, and boy, they did a lot of work, including a laser level to make sure that the track was as dead level as they could get it. They ground a lot from the 701-foot concrete pad all the way down well past the end. They did a lot of work to get this thing up to standards.
Talking with some of the crew chiefs, the only concerns that they seemed to have was they thought the grind job on the concrete was a little bit too porous. You know, that they felt that it had too many grooves in it, not enough contact area. But we saw the first session, and like as Gary said, I mean, the temperature, track temperature was well over 130 degrees, and I didn't think the runs were that bad based on those conditions. Ellie trying to get back in that top 12.
Johnson
nice
just
run.
trying to get into it. 708 at 188 miles an hour for L.E. will put him up in ninth. Steve Johnson does not make it in. You know, there's still some bumps, and here comes one of them.
Well, the motorcycle guys in the right-hand lane have talked about it, and you know, in the fuel car, I can remember the transition a lot of times from the concrete to asphalt. There'd be a little bit of movement there, and you know, you really kind of had to hang on just a little bit sometimes.
There's a slow motion, so we're still waiting for the bump.
Maybe it was just in slow motion. You bumped in slow motion.
Hey, no.
That's good, Mike. We'll keep an eye on this section.
Smooth as glass. Look at that.
When you slow it down to 6 inches a second, yeah.
Well, you know, it's an interesting point that, again, the people who are working on the track are saying that you couldn't see any of the ripples that were in the track until you put the laser on them, and then you found out, yeah, there are these very long ripples that really aren't visible to anything, but they create a big bump. We'll keep an eye on that. hopefully most of them. Trying to get into the field. 7-11 for Underdahl. That will move him up to the 12th spot, which is the bump spot for this evening. And Barry still not in, sits at 16 with a 7-18.
You know, when we talk about wanting a racetrack to be smooth, the reason is mainly in the hot conditions, because as the cars traverse, our bikes move over these bump spots and the crack on there. You're talking
That's
about
Grand Canyon.
You're actually.
I'm sorry.
You're actually talking contact area. Now, you know, you're losing contact area, which gives you less traction. You have to adjust to that. And also the bumps, when it's hot, it upsets the motorcycle or upsets the car. It's easier for the thing to spin. When the track's cool and tight, it's not as much of a problem.
All right, that crack, from the angle we took it, it kind of exaggerates it a little bit, but it's there.
I saw it. I did.
So if you saw it, what impact does that have?
Only if you hit it, I suppose, right? And drive around it best you can. Everybody, you know, gets a chance to go out and walk the racetracks, and you know, from track specialists like Lanny McGlizzy to crew chiefs, and they know that thing's out there. So obviously they have to make their rider or driver aware of that. And remember, Sean Gann, kind of breaking the news, wants to move up to the top fuel category.
Yeah, you have an update on that?
I'm just going to be working with Scott Palmer, and you know, as the off season begins moving toward next year, which will be here in the blink of an eye, you know, he's going to start trying to do some testing.
Sean Gann on his Buell. Justin Finley rides the Suzuki. Finley 708, 190. That's pretty good. That's going to move him up to 10th place, and that's going to move Gann out of the top 12. A little more silly season conversation. What about Lee Beard? Released from DSR after the race at Reading. We were ordered to look all through the pits, see if he was there. Did you see him?
I did not see him, and there were some rumors going around that possibly he would end over at Morgan Lucas, or possibly Alan Abbey. I talked with Morgan, and he says at this point he has nothing. And then Alan Abbey going back to a funny car, possible expansion for 2012. Who knows? I think I did hear that there's some sponsorship proposals out there for a potential sponsor, which could lead to a possible funny car under that umbrella, but they're not planning on it.
John Force Racing, a top fuel dragster? Really?
Talked to John today. They are actively building a 3-rail car to try to mimic what the chassis in the funny cars have, to make them a little stiffer, but a little safer. He's building it in a configuration that they can put a plate on it, just like they did with Alexis and Courtney when they were testing this year, so that if they want to, yeah, they're just going to go put the plate on it and test it as if it were a real top fuel car.
And then last but not least, they're going to announce something probably at the SEMA show.
Shocker, huh?
Karen Stouffer and Matt Smith, and same place, same deal. Karen
almost went on her head.
Man, wow.
She's shaking her head.
Here it is again.
Well, and the shutdown area here is very bumpy. We've seen that before, and that's what happens. You know, you're just you're fading that front brake, and then what happens is it starts bouncing. It doesn't take much to lock up that front brake, and when it does, boy, it can be a bit touchy there for a second.
Well, at least it was good for both of them. They both moved up. Matt to 4th, Karen to 6th.
Yeah, they were good runs.
You know, while we're talking about silly season, keeping in mind our Twitter accounts are open for questions, Mike. Doesn't matter, be it a Twitter account or rolling around in the pits. Everybody still wants to know if you have the desire to drive a race car again.
I'll never lose the desire to drive a race car. I can say that right now. But the desire to go out there and race a 24-race series for a championship, and the amount of commitment and effort it takes to do that, and since they're telling me I'm too old anyway, I don't know. I think I've lost that desire to do that. But I mean, get in a race car and go out there and hit the gas and go fast and win a race, yeah, I'll never lose that.
Andrew Hines and Angie Smith, so that Formula One rumor is just that. You're not going to F1.
You love F1.
I tried, but I couldn't pass the weight test.
And as a reminder, as we always do, red light is fine. Doesn't matter. You leave when you want. 7:05 for Angie, 7:02 for Andrew. Drew ends up in 5th, which is where he was, and Angie moves up 1 place and is now 8th.